My name is Ryan Cognac, and for the project, here's two of the user stories. As a customer, I want to be able to filter search results by users who have photos so that I can find potential dates that are physically attractive. As a customer, I want to be able to filter search results by gender so I can find potential dates belonging to the desired gender. Both of these have a acceptance criteria, filter criteria is able to be applied to user accounts. For these user stories, you can see here I have created a search criteria filter pattern, and so with this I can go and set up the desired inputs and outputs and have a standard input for these. They will take in two users and return, or two user sets, and return whether or not they are within that acceptable criteria with that. All of the filter results except for the distance filter follows this method. The user story is, as a customer, I want to be able to filter search results by distance around me in miles so I can find potential dates in my local area. The acceptance criteria is a filter criteria is able to be applied to user accounts. For the user story with these distance criteria, for this I had to go and use the location services that are available in the Google API clients, and with this location services I was able to obtain the location that the user is currently at and the location of any of the stored users and compare those results. So in this set I had the initial distance set as just a set in meters, where this converts it in since that's the actual value that the location uses, and then the location actually has a distance to function where they can go and compare the two distances, and those results I'm using to go and actually filter in whether or not they qualify as being within their local area. This user story is, as a customer, I want to have a high contrast theme so I can easily see the text and images on the app. The acceptance criteria is the theme is applied to the entire application. For this user story, I had to go and update the application theme, where this is using the light no action bar, and then using the theme editor, I can actually go and individually set some of the different components and what they may look like for the application. This style is then going and applied into the application manifest and applied to all of the different styles and layouts that are available in the application, with allowing overriding capabilities for any of the layouts that may need to have specific layouts and coloration for them and their needs. For this user story is, as a customer, I want to have a common navigation method in the app so I know I can always move to different parts of the app. The acceptance criteria is the side panel navigates the different menus in the application. For this user story, I had to go and implement a way to go and easily and quickly replace fragments. So with the main activity, it goes and sets up and uses an adapter that's created here, and then uses the data source here to go and actually create all the menu items and the submenu items. And then using the navigation manager, creating a fragment navigation manager, the main activity has a location for usage of a single fragment. And with that single fragment, it is gone and replaced using the fragment navigation manager. It's a single instance and will replace the currently viewed fragment with a new one that is needed to be loaded, while also keeping the previous one loaded into the backstack. That way if the user wants to go back to the previous fragment, it will go and reload that application where it was already at. These all are lumped into a similar user story, as they all have to do with the language and localization settings for the application. As a customer, I want to be able to use the English language on the device, so I can use the device in my native language. As a customer, I want to be able to use Chinese language on the app, so that I can use the device or app in my native language. As a customer, I want to be able to use Hindi language on the app, so that I can use the device or app in my native language. As a customer, I want to be able to use Arabic language on the app so that I can use the device or app in my native language. As a customer, I want to be able to use the Spanish language on the app so that I can use the app or device in my native language. And the acceptance criteria for these is the user's device is set to the correct language localization and has a translation that is 80% correct. For the localization in Android Studio, it is very easy to go, and once the languages that you want, you can go and create individual string files for each one, and using a translation editor that is available in Android Studio, you can see what the key is and the default value for any languages that you may not set, and then the language for whatever you may want to go and have a translation for. And you can go and specify these for each individual string that is set in the strings resource library. And these will be loaded by the Android system whenever the language changes, even including during runtime. These will be updated and changed when they're available. For this user story, as a customer, I want to be able to use a smartphone device so that I can use the app on my common personal device. The acceptance criteria is the application displays properly without screen clipping on devices using the medium density and high density sizing. For this user story, I had to go and use the layout editors very heavily to go and create the different layouts for these. First, I had to go and create the initial layout, which we were basing on the medium density, and then using the larger layout, we would go and make sure that it didn't have any large major issues in there, and these had to go and be completed for each individual layout that may have been created for the actual application for each different sizing as well. This user story is, as a customer, I want to be able to use a tablet device so I can use the app and see the screen easily, with the acceptance criteria being the application displays properly without screen clipping on devices using the high density and extra high density sizing. For the creation of the large sizing and the extra large sizing, again, we based off of the medium density, scaled it up for tablets, and then made sure that there were never not any major display issues for the actual application. And we had to go and do that again for each of the different layouts that may be available in the actual application. For this user story is, as a customer, I want to be able to use a small screen size in case I want to use an app on an older, smaller size device. The acceptance criteria is the application displays properly without screen clipping on devices using the low density and medium density sizing. For the small size displays, we had to go and find a device size that was small enough for us to go and be able to kind of see what we were doing in the application, and then try and shrink it down into an area that may be actually readable and give the user enough space to be able to do something. These devices were mostly targeted at older devices, as well as people that may be using them or possibly implemented into the Android Pebble watches that were used or had been talked about and discussed. This user story is, as a customer, I want to be able to click on a match on the map so I can see their profile, with the acceptance criteria being the user can click on a map pin and display the user profile. For this user story, with the implementation of the maps, I had to go and use the map support fragment to be able to use the fragment manager to be able to display the map, and then once the map was available and ready, I had the search function pass in the valid results and the valid users that for the search criteria that may have been put in, and with that it generated map pins based on the marker and the latitude and longitude that are available. And with those actual pins, I updated the pin click listener so that I could go and actually take the click listener and display the user profile that was currently packaged with it. This way the user could go and see any of the people that were populated on the map and not have to wait for a long load time for it to download from the server for the information for the user account.